let's get your thoughts on Ireland then. We've spent a
Mm.
couple of podcasts trying to figure out their performance. Murray and I settled on it being actually quite good when we chatted on Monday. Well, he did, and I'll defer to him. What were your thoughts? Good, bad, ugly?
I'll give it a pass, definitely. I think they're probably hindered by the line-out performance. We understand how important line-out launch is to this attacking team. I think they'll just be frustrated that with the amount of possession they had in the first half, that they probably didn't make a couple of those opportunities tell, which will be definitely work on. But just a little bit of regression in the line. It obviously was excellent in the first two rounds and probably fell back into a couple of bad habits that we saw in the World Cup. So that will be one area that they'll want to definitely fix up on. I think interestingly, it's probably the best I've seen Wales defend. Uh, they obviously want to get in front and stay in front. They want to be really square off the line. It almost was back to the Sean Edwards day where strong line speed, low chop tackle, run over the ball. And I thought Ireland's attacking structure probably suited how Wales defended. They like to go through the forwards' hands off nine, go out the back to the 10, and then try and play off 10 to get to that either the second forward pod or go out the back again. But going through that first set of hands, particularly with a real square defense, doesn't change the Welsh defensive setup because outside of that forward pod, they're still going to be really square and hard off the line. What it actually does is rob the ball carriers outside of that pod of three time on the ball. And I thought Ireland could have changed up earlier in terms of potentially bypassing that pod, getting the ball into Crowley's hands early, and then having the ability to play those second pod of forwards early to give them a chance to put a bit of footwork on and go through the line or play through the hands and go out the back again. So interestingly, it's probably the first time I've seen a defensive system cope reasonably well with that Ireland structure. And in the second half, there's an advancement. You saw that they started to try and play through the line a little bit more. Kelleher, Bundyaki, and some little inside pass as well. I think it was in the lead up to the Bundyaki try where Lowe comes off his wing and they play to the interior. Really, really important against a square defense that's coming off the line that you try and challenge the inside of the defensive line. So I thought they actually learned as the game went on, but I think particularly in that first half, Wales looked pretty comfortable with their defensive system, and Ireland possibly struggled to break them down. Obviously, set piece was dominant. Dominance to scrum leads to the first maul try for Sheehan, and that enabled them to get field position. So I thought it was, yeah, as I said, a pass mark. I think defensively they were excellent as well. We talk about their capacity to be able to go through phases from an attacking perspective, but I thought that defensive set when Keller comes up with the turnover in 57 minutes was a it pointed to Ireland having a really cohesive and excellently organized defensive system. And we talked about on the pod before, they've got really good decision makers in their defensive system, when to go out the ball, when to leave it, fold or hold decisions. And I thought that was very apparent, but it also was very apparent was the power deficit with the Welsh ball carriers. They just were enabled to dent Ireland's defensive line. And I think they had one line break over the course of 80 minutes, which shows probably a paucity in that area of the game for me. And it just kind of smacked me in this moment in time as Wales are a far better team out of possession than in possession. And probably the other area I thought Ireland might have done a little bit more. We saw a few kick passes from Crowley and Frawley, but potentially, particularly the way Wales defend with nine in the defensive line, trying to rush and put pressure on us, try and eke out those little spaces in behind defensive lines with their kicking game, which I felt they could have done potentially a little bit more of.
The way that Wales were able to deny, say, Ireland's second pod that time and space, as you mentioned, I would say the only team that I could recall doing it was South Africa, and actually not in the World
Mm.
Cup, but in November 2022 in that test. I feel like after that game, Ireland had almost like a tailored plan to meet South Africa again. Like they kept them guessing. Whereas, like, I remember, was it Jesse Creel possibly making some unbelievable reads in that game and the Aviva, and it kind of concerned me that Ireland struggled to find a way around it at times. And like, I'm wondering, because that was a Jacques Nienaber led defense, how much of what Wales did could be replicated by Felix Jones and England in 10 or so days' time? Or is it still a little bit too early in their journey to, I guess, perfect what South Africa tried to do and what Wales did to some success.
Yeah, well, we'll go to England in a minute, but when you look at some of their defensive misreads, Sneyd, particularly off the scrum for I think it's the second DTH try, uh, they tend to throw a few more shooters out of the line and try and push defenders back to the inside. I actually felt Wales were pretty cohesive and connected in terms of when they got off the line. I think Jones will definitely have taken pictures from that defensive performance and be able to implement it. I think if they keep throwing those shooters out of the line, I think Ireland will be able to pick them off. But yeah, I would say definitely food for thought for teams that looked at that Welsh performance and saw lots of shapes that were able to contain what's a really impressive Irish defensive attacking system.